Hi guys and welcome. You are here with me today for an online goal setting and planning workshop for 2021, especially for writers. I am Charlie from Urban Writers Retreat. Hello. Whether we've met before or not, it's nice to be here with you. So I would normally be running physical retreats. I've been running one-day retreats in London since 2008, and I also do residential retreats in Devon. Obviously, that's not happening at the moment. Everything has gone online, and I'm going to leave you a link to the Facebook group so that you can come and join us if you fancy that. And I also do a couple of online courses, things like that. Now, I know a couple of people had asked specifically for a live workshop to do this, and I'm really sorry that this is recorded. I would love to have been here with you live and have got all that feedback about how your year's gone and what it is that you're going to do next year. But what I will do is I will put a couple of posts in the Facebook group and then I can still catch up with you all. It just, yeah, it just didn't work out for various reasons, including, if I'm entirely honest, that I have been a bit zoomed out. And the only way that I thought I could get this up and going in time was to do it this way. So I'm doing this on the 1st of January, appropriately enough. Hopefully you are ready to start thinking about this year and what you want to happen with it. Now, I'm really always enthusiastic about goal setting and planning. It's really important because unless you actually focus on what it is that you really truly want and work out how to get there and then take steps in the right direction, the things that you want are just dreams. And you'll look back in 10 years time and go, oh yeah, remember I wanted to do that, and ooh, what did I actually do with the last 10 years, which I think is something we've all experienced. Because you don't, it's all very well knowing that you want to write a book, but you don't just wake up one morning and find that you've magically got an agent or that your book has been optioned or, whatever it is that you want. But our lives nowadays are so full of stuff and noise and things that we have to do that you have to make the effort to make space in your life for writing, to go, yes, this is important to me. Yeah, these things matter because they're things that I dream of, and also because being creative is important to me as a person and to my enjoyment of life. So if you were to imagine, I always think of it as, imagine that you have a jam jar, and that jar contains, it's the space for all of the time and energy that you have, and you can only fit so much into it. So some things like, say, work and family, they're going to be big rocks, and you have to put those rocks into your jar and they're going to take up quite a lot of space in it. Then there's going to be other stuff that has got to be done, like taxes, laundry, food shopping. And then there's going to be other rocks like scrolling through Twitter and all the other little things that eat your time. Smaller rocks, again, filling up that jar. So it's really easy to go, oh, I don't look, my jar's so full, I've got no time, I can't fit this writing shaped one in. And so what I'm suggesting is that you do things the other way around, and that you prioritize the things that you really want to do, like writing, first, put those rocks into your jar first, and then possibly some of the other less important stuff has to filter away off the top, and make the decision not to fill your jar with those. So I'm going to be doing my planning in, very exciting, the writer's diary. So that, if you guys have one, then open it, because this whole workshop essentially is in the front of the diary. If you do not have one, I'm afraid they're sold out this year, but that's fine, because I've made a PDF of this planning workshop, which you will find below the video. You can also just scribble things in a notebook if you want, not a problem. Now, the thing about having something like a diary is that this actually then encourages you to set goals regularly and to come back every month and every quarter and revise those goals. So however you do it, that is something that I would highly suggest. Ideally, have a little meeting with yourself every week. It doesn't have to be long, just 5 minutes, to catch up on how you're doing, what's working, what's not, and what it is that you need to do next week to keep yourself on track. Now, what else do I need to tell you? I that's about it. So yeah, so I'm going to, give me a second. I'm going to set up my screen share. And we can get into the planning. Okay, there we are. Yes, Writers Planning Workshop. Welcome to 2021. It's a shiny new year and let's make the most of it. So we're going to start by doing a review of last year. And I will talk about this when we get there, but the focus is going to be on what you have done, not on what you haven't done. And let's not pretend that last year was a normal year, okay? So then we're going to set some writing dreams based on the things that you really want to be doing, and then turn that into specific goals of things that you can actually do. Break them down a bit more, and then we'll look at what your writing habits are and whether you are supporting yourself as well as you can and helping yourself to actually reach those goals. So let us start with a review of 2020. I'm going to give you about 12 minutes for this. If you have a diary from last year, maybe pause me and go and grab that now. If you don't keep a diary, but you have lots of notebooks, then it would be a really good idea to grab that as well. One thing about having this recorded is that it doesn't matter whether or not you need more or less time than I'm giving you for these, because I'm going to move the slides on with each new question. And you can, or if I'm moving on too fast, you can just pause me and take a bit of extra time. So make sure that you've got everything that you need now to look at what you actually did. And what I want you to do is just list everything that you managed to do last year. Doesn't matter how tiny it was. So even under normal circumstances, I think it's really important that you celebrate the things that you do. Carrots work much better than sticks. Encouragement works much better than criticism. So really give yourself, take full credit for every tiny thing that you've done. And actually, yes, even reading a book when everything is falling apart around you. You know, I haven't read for most of this year, and so one of the things in my review that that I'm celebrating is the fact that I got back into writing, and I've read 1.5 books in the last month or so. So when I say list every small thing that you've achieved, I mean every small thing, and it doesn't have to be actual words that you've put down. It can be everything associated with writing. So once you've done that, just take a minute to look at, you know, what did you enjoy? What did you learn? Were there things this year that you want more of? And what do you think worked for you? What did you do that made it easier for you to do things that was positive? And then the second half of this question, so we'll do these two together, is what didn't go so well? Is there anything that you wanted to do but didn't? What frustrated you? What disappointed you? Why was this? Now, I know that for some of us, there's going to have been a lot of things that we weren't able to do. And honestly, wasn't particularly our fault. And we've been dealing with the situation as well as we can do. So you don't need to beat yourself up in this bit, but it is worth just noting, where did you get stuck and what bad habits got in your way? How did you not help yourself? How did you get in your own way? So that you can look at changing that next year. Okay, so I'm going to put a timer on for 12 minutes and I will come back to you shortly. Okay, great. Hopefully you've had time to do that. If not, just pause me and keep going until you've, yeah, really given yourself a good overview of last year. You're feeling good about the things that you did manage to do, and you've got a bit of an overview about what you're doing that's maybe not so helpful. And then we're going to go on to your writing dreams. So the first question about this is what is your biggest, most ridiculous writing dream? So if you could write anything, but also if through your writing you could achieve or be or have or do anything, what would it be? So really think big here. This is not about what's realistic particularly. This is about, really, if I could be the writer that I've been longing to be, if I could have a fairy godmother come and wave their wand at me, what would I write and what would be the outcome of that? And then in the second question, we're going to kind of, I guess, rein that back in a notch. And I want you to think realistically, but with ambition and positivity. So in a good world, where would you want to be with your writing in 5 times? 5 years, I mean. Where would you be? So again, it might be about how many books you would have published, or it might be about what your writing will have allowed you to have and achieve. For you, it might be about winning prizes, or it might just be about getting an agent, or it might be about the process, about how much you'll have written, how you'll feel about writing. And whatever that goal is, I want you to have a think about why you want it. So what does this dream mean to you? In a sense, it's about why writing is important to you. But the reason I'm asking you to think about this is that when we then go on to make specific goals for this year, it's good to know what is important to you. So do you want to write bestsellers because you want money? Is that what's important to you? And it's absolutely fine if that's what the answer is. Or is it that actually what you're dreaming of is respect? Do you want to win literary prizes because having that external validation is really important to you? Is it about a lifestyle that writing will allow you to lead? Is it about feeling like you are free and creative? So why you want to be there is really important. And I'm going to give you another 10 minutes to go through those 2 questions. Okay, starting now. Okay, great. Hopefully that has been fun for you. And yeah, you've just got some really exciting dreams and good places that you hope to be in a few years. So what we're going to do now is, before we go into planning for this year, we're going to go sideways a bit. So let us look at what specifically you want to write. So we're talking about what ideas have you already got. Now, if you've got your notebooks and things with you, you may have all of this already. You might have it written down in a list somewhere if you're organized. It's a really great idea to keep a list of all your writing ideas. So just brainstorm absolutely any idea that you have that you want to write. And then you can start kind of just marking the ones that you really love the idea of and that you think that you'd really enjoy writing, rather than the ones that you think that you should write. And then the second question for this is going to be, is there anything else that is not directly writing that you want, or that you would like to do or learn, that will help you get long-term to where you want to? So it might be that you need to learn stuff. Maybe you want to take more writing courses. Maybe you want to go on retreats. Maybe it's to do with developing your routines and habits, or perhaps you need to deal with things like you're at a stage where you need to build a website, or to make your next self-published book better, you need to hire an editor. So any of those things that are not directly writing, but are writing related and will help you, jot those down there. And we're just going to take 5 minutes for this one. Again, if you don't already have a list of all of the things that you want to write and you want to go away and dig for idea treasure, then you can just pause this and come back to it when you're ready. But for the rest of us, we will take 5 minutes starting now. Okay, great. Hopefully you've got another little list of things. So let's go on and make actual goals for this year. So what we're going to do is make between 1 and 3 goals. This might not sound like very much. I know that a lot of us are full of ideas and we think that we need to do all of them immediately. But the thing that happens if you do that is that a lot of us will just end up spending a lot of time feeling bad about the fact that we're not doing it all. And that makes us feel worse and worse and worse until we get to the stage where we don't do anything. And then in 10 years' time, you're thinking, why didn't I do all of those things? You know, you're going to have the same list of goals in 10 years, the same list of ideas, because you haven't focused in enough. And that thing that I was talking about having a jar, a life jar, and you've only got so much time and space. So I think it's Charlie Gilkey, he's a productivity expert who talks about having, I think, buckets, and you've only got a certain amount of them that you can deal with. Now, say if you have 5 buckets, which realistically is the maximum amount of things any person can handle, your family life is probably going to be one of them. Your home life. Quite possibly, pandemic, surviving is going to be, for a lot of us, it might count as another bucket. For a lot of people, work is going to be another bucket. That only leaves you 2. And, you know, if you're, say, a long distance runner and you have to put a lot of time into that, suddenly you've only got one bucket left. So that is why I'm saying 1 to 3 goals. And we all think that we can do more than we can. So maybe this year, just try to give yourself a goal that you really want to do and give yourself a really good shot of doing it. Now, what you can do with these goals is you can either set 1 to 3 concurrent goals, or you can set ones that will be staggered. So if you know that you need 6 months to finish editing your novel and get it sent out, have that goal for the first 6 months of the year, and then you can set yourself either now or so you've got something to look forward to, or you can set it when you get to it, another goal to take over from that. And the format that we're going to do it in is I want to, this year I'm going to do something, and that something, that second thing, is actually your goal. To do this, I'm going to, what you're going to do, and then I'm going to, and the reason that I set them like this is the I want focuses on your why. So that whenever you look back at this, and I do suggest that you look back at this frequently, you are reminding yourself of why you want to do this and why it's important to you. Then the second thing is your specific goal. But it's not enough to just set a goal. You have to know how you're going to get there. So you're going to give yourself a couple of steps, the major things that you need to do to help you on that way. So an example would be, I want to write more so that my writing improves and I feel like I can call myself a writer. This year, I'm going to submit 1 story a month to competitions. To do this, I'm going to select 1 competition per month, make a chart with the topics and deadlines. Then I'm going to spend 1 week a month free writing and brainstorming, 1 drafting, and 2 editing and submitting. So you can see that's a really clear pathway to achieving the goal, but also it's really obvious why you're doing it. So in this example, the person wants to feel more like a writer. They want to write more and they want to feel like they can really own that identity. And yeah, it's about starting to set into place those action steps as well of what you're going to do to get there. So yes, and the other thing I wanted to say about goals is that things like, I want to win a Hugo Prize, you're not actually in control of that. That can be your dream, but I would suggest that you try to keep your goals to things that you are actually in control of. So say winning a Hugo Prize was your goal, you would, basically your goal would be to do the things that would put you in the position to win and make sure that your entry was in. And at that point, your influence over it stops. Or maybe it doesn't, you know, maybe there are things that you can do, marketing, whatever. But the point is that you're focusing on the things that are in your control. And if you can, try to make goals that are in some way measurable. So things like complete a first draft or edit a novel enough to send out to an agent, these are nice measurable goals. Write more is not a good goal. What does write more mean? Like, are you going to measure it by word count? Are you going to measure it by the amount of time that you spent? Are you going to measure it by the amount of ideas that you generate? It's just that if these things are really vague, then it's very easy for us to go, oh, I don't really know what that is, and put it off. Okay. So looking back at the stuff that you've done so far, give yourself between 1 and 3 goals. And I have to say, this is the first year that I've ever only given myself 2 writing goals. Normally I've got 3, and then I'm like, oh, and a 4th one. And I've been really good this year and only given myself 2, which I'm very excited about seeing how that goes. So you know what, if you've only got 1, then don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like you have to have 3. Okay. So we are going to have, let's have 10 minutes for this, maybe just under 10, maybe 8 minutes. But again, if you need more, you can just pause me. Okay, off you go. Set those goals. Okay, great. Now, before we move on, I want you to do a bit of a check on your goals. Take a look at them and just sit for a moment. Take a nice deep breath in and let it out. And just look at those goals and see how they make you feel. Are these goals that make you feel excited? Maybe stretched and challenged, yes, but excited and in love, maybe, feeling like it's something you really want to do? Or are they goals that make you go, eh? Do they feel like a burden, like another rucksack of bricks to carry? And the reason that I'm asking this is that there is no point in setting goals based on other people's concept of what it is that you should be doing. So, you know, it doesn't matter whether you want to be a literary writer, a prize-winning writer, if you want to write for kids, if you want to write a series that sells millions of copies, if you want to be self-published, if you want to be traditionally published, if you don't want to be published at all, if all you want is to feel in touch with your creativity, all of these are fine. You write for your own reasons, but don't let anyone else or your own ideas about how things should be let you distract you from what it is that you want. So I think that the literary thing is a big thing for a lot of us. We feel like we either that we should be writing commercial books or that we should be writing things that are good, in quotes, you know, kind of that are going to win big literary prizes. When those are not the things that we are drawn to. So it's all about what you love to read, the ideas that bring you to life. And if your goals do that, then that is wonderful. If you think that actually maybe they are not the ones that are really for you, then maybe go back to your ideas list, or have a think about what goal you could set to find yourself that thing that you really love. So, assuming that you have set goals that you're happy with, and if not, pause me, then we are going to do a bit of a breakdown. So you're going to take an annual overview and then chunk it down to make it manageable. And to do that, we're going to break each goal into 4 broad quarterly chunks. And we've got a chart on the next page, which means that you can see the whole year, but also see those smaller sections, because really a year-long project is quite a lot to hold in your mind at once and really understand the scale of the work, which is why we break it down into smaller chunks, and then we will start breaking it down into monthly ones as well. So ideally, you maybe give yourself a very detailed first quarter for each of your goals, and then so make a little note of what you're going to do in January, February and March, and then the later goals you can fill in if you want, or you can just leave it very freeform and see how things go when you get there. But maybe it's a good idea to try and have a very broad overview of, you know that if you want to, you know, if you've got a deadline in October for your next novel, then you're going to have to do certain things by certain deadlines to make that happen. And then once you've done that, part of the reason for setting these out is that you can then get an idea about whether these deadlines, these goals are realistic, because maybe the task that you've set yourself is more than a 1-year task, and you're going to need to go back and reset it for a goal that is doable in 1 year. And then this chart is really useful one, so you can come back to this quarterly and monthly. So what I'm going to do is, yes, there we go. So that's your goals breakdown chart. You've got it in the diary, you'll have it on the PDF, or just write yourself out a copy. And I'm just going to give you sort of 7-8 minutes here to at least get the first quarter set in. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, great. Hopefully you have got the next couple of months, at least the next 3 months, sorted in terms of what you're going to have to do each month. So let's move on. And I want to look at writing habits, or routines might be a slightly better, it might be a more accurate word for them. So for this is about working out what you can do to help yourself get there, what works for you, and identifying the things that do and don't work. And to do that, we are going to take a brief trip into the future, and I'm going to ask you to imagine that it's already the 31st of December and you have done everything that you wanted to do this year. You've achieved those goals and it feels amazing. So maybe just take a moment now to take a deep breath in and maybe shut your eyes as you let it out, and to just take a moment to imagine that. Put yourself in the future and you've done all of these things that you've just written. I'm sure it wasn't easy. So from your vantage point at the end of December, I want you to just imagine maybe that you're doing next year's planning, and I want you to think about how you did it. So was there anything that you had to change about the way that you fundamentally think or feel about writing or about yourself to make it happen? Because mindset is one of the things that really holds a lot of us back. I want you to think back to when things went badly or when you lost confidence, because this is inevitably going to happen at some point during the year. What did you do to recover? So maybe actually put yourself in that position, in, if that helps. And I want you to think about what you did day to day. So you can make a couple of little lists of the things that you had to stop doing to allow yourself to get out of your way and just write, and to make the time that you need for writing. And the other list I want you to make is of the routines and the habits that have made the most difference to you. So we're looking at the things that distract you, or that you do that are getting in your way, that are hindering you, the ways that you procrastinate maybe, and also the things that you do that help you to get into flow. Okay, so I will give you 5 minutes for that. Okay, great. So hopefully now you've got an idea of, maybe you've got a couple of lists of things to do and not to do, things to focus on that are going to help you find that flow, and things that you need to avoid or find ways of overcoming. Hopefully it's also given you a little taste of seeing into the future, of seeing how your writing life might look during the year. And so all that remains for us to do is to go in and break January down a little bit more. And again, the reason for this is just that if you just make goals and don't set up proper plans for them, really they're just dreams. You don't, it's all too easy to just think, oh yeah, I will do this, and then the whole month has gone and you've forgotten what you even set yourself. So I really would suggest coming back to this on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, maybe even a daily basis. So I do have a little kind of 5-minute meeting with myself at the start of most days. I guess it depends on where your writing sits in your life. But mine includes writing and other things all into one. So let us just break those January goals down into weekly chunks. So take each goal and literally, you can either split it into 4, or you can look at your diary. Do look at what else is going on in your life when you do this, because there is no point in giving yourself big goals if you are going to, say, be away for 2 weeks and out of contact, and you know that you won't be able to get certain stuff done. You're just going to stress yourself out. So is it going to be realistic? What is your workflow? Do you have big deadlines coming up? And try to make the chunks that you break that work into make sense. If you can, try to maybe schedule in your writing times. I know this is not something that works for everyone, but maybe have an idea at least of what is going to work for you this month, and also what else you might need to do perhaps from those writing habits to make it happen. And at the end of that, all I want you to do is write down what is your one next step for each goal. And this one next step should be falling off a log simple. So when we break down goals, one of the problems is that we quite often don't break them down far enough. And when you have something on your to-do list that still looks too big and intimidating, so you don't do it, you put it off. And if that's the case, can you break it down even further? So it's not even, I don't know, writing an email to an agent. That's too big. So you would maybe make your first step might be research what a good agent letter would look like. Or it might be spend 5 minutes drafting in bullet points what I want to put in it. So can you see, you take it down to a much, much smaller level, and just taking things in those tiny, tiny steps, and each week breaking down again what you have to do into tiny, tiny steps will just make all of this feel calmer and easier and less intimidating. So let's take another 5 minutes here. Last one, just make those goals make sense. Make sure that January feels settled, feels doable for you. And then you're going to be ready to rock. So let me put my timer on and take 5 minutes here. Okay, great. That is almost you done. There is one more minor thing that I want to bring up quickly. I haven't put it on a slide here, but it's in your PDF, and if you've got the diary, it's also in the diary. I've given you a writing tracker. Now, for some people, tracking what they do works really well, both in terms of setting goals and motivating themselves, and also in terms of motivating you because you can see how far you've come. And actually, that is the main reason why I would suggest doing one. Not so much for, you know, if you are goal driven and this will work for you, then wonderful, and use it to stick stars in, whatever works for you. But it's really nice having an easy to view record of everything that you've done, being able to look back on it and just, because I think that you'll find that you do more than you think. And these tools, the reason I wanted to bring them up is I think a lot of the time people think that you have to be using them as a word count tracker, and that is not the case at all. So you can use it to track your word count. You can use it to track the lines you've written, the pages you've written, the plot points that you've written, the pages that you've edited. If what you're doing involves a lot of heavy reading, you can mark how much you've read. You can mark the amount of time that you've spent on your writing, your wider writing work, not necessarily sitting typing. So it really is flexible, and I just think it's really nice to have that very easy, quick record of what you've done, and to see it mount up. That's the other thing, because if you start to track, say you track the day, say you don't put any numbers or anything on it, you just track the number of days that you journal, then when you start seeing all of your little ticks and stars there, it's going to start feeling really good. So yes, maybe give that a try. I just think that's, well, yeah, that's all I wanted to say, really. It's quite a nice thing to do. So about the only other thing, no, I have two things to tell you about. The first one is that I am doing online writing retreats at the moment. We are still not doing physical retreats. I am hoping that potentially this year we will be able to get back to them, both in London and the residential ones in Devon. I don't have a time frame for that yet, so sorry, I just can't tell you. It just depends on how things go. For now, though, I'm running online retreats. So I do 2-hour sessions on Monday, 10 till 12 and 1 till 3. And then Saturday, kind of a bigger whole day thing from 10 till 4. Please feel free to come and join me anytime. It's very simple, non-threatening. I'm afraid it does mean that you need a Facebook account. It was the easiest way for me to set it up at the time. But yeah, it would be lovely to see you there. And what's really nice about the retreats is it's like I was just saying about the writing tracker. You get to see people's progress over time. And yeah, it is really motivating coming back again and again and seeing that stuff grow. It also means that you've got other people to write around. You feel like you're not by yourself. The other thing, which is not up on here, but I just thought I should mention, is that if one of your goals that you have just set yourself is to write that novel draft, the 6-month novel is going to be happening this year. We will start in early March. Details are going to be coming up very soon. And yeah, the idea of that is I work with an editor, Amy, and we have put this program together, and it's what we want as writers. So Amy is a writer as well as an editor. And it's all about accountability and just giving you the tools and the structure that you need to help you get to the end of that first draft. So yeah, keep an eye out for that if it's something that's of interest. Maybe I'll try and pop a link below here. But we are done here. You have got a plan and some goals for the year. You know how to get there. You know what you have to do. You know what you have to stop doing. So all that remains is to just sit down and do it and keep being kind to yourself. Like I said, you get much further with carrots than with sticks. So give yourself a break. And every time you do look back at this stuff and look back at your goals, don't think in terms of, have I done what I said I had to do or not? Think of it in terms of, how is it going? Is this working for me? Am I giving myself the support I need? So just try and turn that around into something much more positive and see how far that takes you. It's been lovely being here with you. Like I said, please come and join me for online retreats. and just have a wonderful year. In that Facebook group, I am going to post a message asking people what it is that they are going to do this year. So come over and let me know what your main goal is. Okay. Work out how to stop sharing my screen. Yeah, it's been lovely being here with you, and I'll see you again sometime. Bye.